4, 3, 2, 1.
Jai Sripad Nyasi Guru Gaur Chandraju ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhanju ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Pari Brajakacharya. Astuter Siddha Shri Sriman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Pari Brajakacharya. Astuter Siddha Shri Sriman Srila Bhakti Rakak Sri Dardev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai. Welcome to Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission morning class. Hari Bol. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Parakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidangstam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidangscha Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Svapadantikam. Jai Srila Rupa Goswami ki Jai. And now, of course, with special attention to Srila Rupa Goswami, as always, we're always offering our obeisances to Srila Rupa Goswami and his divine followers. But now we're reading Upadeshamritam, so special attention to how graciously he's presented these 11 verses for us. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj ki Jai. Srila Om Vishnupad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, continuing to read the 25th chapter of Madhya Lila. This is the 5th volume. We are on page 585 of these books. 584 rather. And this is text number 124, again, the 25th chapter of Madhya Lila, 5th volume. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktavinda Amate Jai Priti Se Prema Prayojana Karya Dware Kahitara Swarupa Lakshana. Supreme affection for me is called love of Godhead. Jai Swapadika Shishi Guru Gaur Chandraju ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhanju ki Jai. And that is the ultimate goal of life. Let me explain by a practical example the natural characteristics of such love. And this word lakshana. Lakshana, this word comes up quite often in the verses, and it means characteristics. Panchabhuta jaiche bhutera bitare bihare bahire bhaktagane spuri ami bahire antare. The 5 material elements are existing inside and outside of every living entity. Similarly, I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, am manifest within the heart of the devotee as well as outside of his body. So the 5 material elements are both inside the body and outside. And, excuse me. And so I am like that. The pure devotee knows that he is a servant of Krishna eternally. He knows that everything can be used in the service of the Lord. Jata mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chavacheshvanu Pravistanya pravistani Tattateshu nateshvaham. As the material elements enter the bodies of all living beings, and yet remain outside of them all, so I exist within all material creations, and yet am not within them at the same time, in them and not within them. In the same way that the material elements enter the bodies of all living beings, and yet they still remain outside of them. Bhakta ama preme bandhyache hridaya bitare, jahane trapade tahan dekaye amare. A highly elevated devotee can bind me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his heart by love. Wherever he looks, he sees me and nothing else. So the impersonalists, they see the Brahman everywhere. They see Brahman, they see that the element of the fact of spirit exists everywhere. But those who are more advanced, they're seeing Vasudeva, and more clearly Vasudeva with his potency, meaning Lakshmi Narayan, and then more deeply Sitaram, and then the goddesses of fortune in Dwarka and Dwarkanath, then Mathura, and above that Vrindavan. They're seeing deeply and deeply and more deeply what is the personality of Godhead. Vishrajati hridayam nayasya sakshad darir avas sabi hitopya. Sorry, I gotta adjust this a little bit. Vishrajati hridayam nayasya sakshad darir avasa bihitopya goganasa pranaya rasanaya ditangri padma sabhavati bhagavata pradana ukta. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who destroys everything inauspicious for his devotees, does not leave the hearts of his devotees even if they remember him and chant about him inattentively. This is because the rope of love always binds the Lord within the devotees' hearts. So this is, we're talking here, the person referred to here is a pure, unalloyed Vaishnava. So sometimes he may say something inattentively, but he's not a practitioner. His heart and the Lord's heart are always bound together. Such devotees should be accepted as most elevated. This is a quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Any question so far? Sarvabhuteshu yapasyed bhagavad bhavamatmanaha bhutani bhagavatyatmani eshak bhagavatottamaha. A person advanced in devotional service sees within everything the soul of souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he always sees the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes, and understands that all things are situated in him. This is a quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Gayanta ucheramumeva samhata vichikyur unmataka vanam vanam praprachur asashavad antarang bahir bhuteshu santam purusham vanaspatim. All the gopis assembled to chant the transcendental qualities of Krishna very loudly, as they began to wander from one forest to another like mad women. They began to inquire about the Lord, who is situated in all living entities, internally and externally. Indeed, they even asked all the plants and vegetables about him, the Supreme Person. This is a quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam. The gopis went mad due to Krishna suddenly leaving the rasa dance. Because the gopis were fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, they were imitating his different postures and pastimes. They became very much saddened because of his absence, and this incident is explained by Srikadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Ataiva Bhagavate Eitina Kaya Sambandha Abhideya Prayojanamaya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, thus one's relationship with the Lord, activities in devotional service, and the attainment of the highest goal of life, love of Godhead, are the subject matters of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And those, of course, are Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya Gyan, and Prayojan. And this is what the Srimad Bhagavatam is dealing with. One's relationship with everything, meaning everything according to one's relationship with the center of all things, which is Krishna. This understanding, and then the practices of devotional service, and the ultimate goal. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabjate. The absolute truth is known by the self-realized souls as a unified identity. Not that Brahman is a separate thing, Paramatma is a separate thing, Krishna is a separate thing. No, this is one person, but he's known by different names. The impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any questions? Bhagavaneka asedam agra atmanam atmatmanam vibhu atmechanugatavatma ananamatyu palakshanaha. Therefore the cosmic manifestation was created. The creative potency was merged in the Supreme Lord's person. Before the cosmic manifestation was created, the creative potency was merged in the Supreme Lord's person. At that time, all potencies and manifestations were preserved in his personality. Excuse me. The Lord is the cause of all causes, and he is the all-pervading, self-sufficient person. Before the creation, he existed with his spiritual potency in the spiritual world, wherein various Vaikuntha planets are manifested. The Lord is the cause of all causes, and he is the all-pervading, self-sufficient person. Before the creation, he existed with his spiritual potency in the spiritual world, wherein various Vaikuntha planets are manifested. So Mahaprabhu is stressing these verses, that the cosmic manifestation comes and goes, but the Lord is always existing. He's not created with the creation and ending with the annihilation. So this is being stressed here. Ete changsha kala pungshang krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam mridayanti yuge yuge. All these incarnations of Godhead are either plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. Purusha avatars means Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And all of the avatars that come, all of the incarnations that appear in this world are coming from them. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He is the source of the Purusha avatars. In every age, he protects the world through his different features when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. So the demigods are trying to keep good order in the universe, in the mode of goodness, meaning going upward. But the enemies of Indra are those who want everything to go downward. And so when there's so much disturbance, then the Lord appears. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. Eita sambandha shuna abhideya bhakti bhagavate prati shloke vyapeyarastiti. This is one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, this is the relationship. Now, please hear about the execution of devotional service. This principle pervades each and every verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So our relationship with the Lord, we are the living entities. He is the supreme cause of all causes. He exists before the creation. He exists after the creation. He exists during the creation. He's not affected by the creation. And we are very much affected. But it is our eternal relationship and ultimate goal of every living being to establish our loving service to Him, which is so unshakable. Nothing can disturb that once it has been established. But that's not a material thing. That heart must be a very great heart. Now, so that's Sambandha Gyan. Now, Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya Shadayatma priya satam bhakti punati manishta swapakanapi sambhavat. Lord Krishna said, being very dear to the devotees and sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotional service. This bhakti yoga system, which gradually increases attachment for me, purifies even a human being born among dog eaters. That is to say, everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform by the process of bhakti yoga. Everyone. And we heard this also in the explanation of the Atmarama verse, that everyone, anyone and everyone, in any situation, can begin to establish his relationship with Krishna. That is the most astonishing thing. Because that is the highest goal of religion, yoga, anything. But it is easily attained through the practice of devotion. And it is available to everyone, whereas all these other practices, especially in the plane of religiosity, they're very much restricted. This person can do this, that person can do that. That's why Krishna is emphasizing in the Gita, anyone. And he's saying Shudras, but actually less than Shudras. Anyone can begin this process. But as far as religion is concerned, there's strictures, according to birth, qualities, all these things. So the highest thing can be attained because it's natural. It's a natural relationship that we have with Krishna. This verse is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. And then the next verse, 137. Na sajyati mam yogo, na sadayati mam yogo, na shankyam dharma uddhava, na svadhyayastapastyago, yata bhaktir mamorjita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, my dear Uddhava, neither through Astanga Yoga, the mystic system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism, nor analytical study of the Absolute Truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas, can one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me. So Krishna says in the Gita, austerity, charity, and sacrifice should never be given up. But those should all be done for Krishna, in relationship to Krishna and the Vaishnavas, Krishna and Krishna. then it is perfect. But it's very beautiful how the Lord explains these things in the Gita. To become peaceful, to become regulated, to become clean, to be self-satisfied. These are austerities of the mind. So these are all wonderful things. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. For an explanation, see the Adi Leela, text 76. Payan dvitya biniveshata syad isharapetasya viparyayo smriti tanmaya yato buddha abhajetang bhaktyai kaye sham guru devatatma. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called viparyayo smriti. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipful deity, and source of life. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. This is a quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's pretty concise. When the living entity is attracted by the material nature, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Right? We're all overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. And of course, that means he's full of fear, because his position that he's trying to establish is completely wrong. So he's got to really work hard to make that seem like it's a fact. This is called viparyayo smriti. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipful deity, and source of life. To nullify a mistake, one should go into do the opposite of that mistake. This is direct. All these other processes are they're indirect, and they're not even, in the end, most of them will even nullify this mistake. So if I see my father come in and I think he's an ordinary man, I might say something, not very affectionate to that person. But when I recognize, oh, this is my father, how to nullify that? Treat him like my father. Why go through 10,000 books to figure that out? So he's saying one who is actually learned, he's going to rectify that mistake by worshiping the Lord as his guru, as his worshipful deity, and as the source of his life, because that's the truth. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. So simple. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. That's a nice verse for our website.
Which one?
This one we just read.
The website is going to be like the Prasharam.
Excuse me. Ebeshuna premeje mula prayojana pulakashu nritya gita tahara lakshana. Now hear from you what actual love of Godhead is, and that's called prayojan. So now Mahaprabhu has briefly gone through Sambandha Gyan. Well, who are we? Who is the Lord? He's always existing. He's the source of all the creation. He's existing during the creation. He's existing after the creation. We are all living beings in the mundane world, and so on. And then Abhideya, worship him. Nullify your mistake by worshiping him properly.
Abhideya is the process, right?
The process, yeah. And then now prayojan. Now hear from me what actual love of Godhead is.
That's the goal, right?
The goal, right,
And
exactly.
Raghunath.
Raghunath Das Goswami. Very good. It is the prime object of life and is symptomized by bodily trembling, tears in the eyes, chanting and dancing. In the movies, they have a gun, and it makes the sound of a gun, but there's no bullets in there. So many are imitating these things. They can, oh, I'm in love of Godhead, tears, chanting, dancing for hours and hours. But just because that, making that kind of noise does not mean that that thing is there. So in the same way, Srila Guru Maharaj is quoting, and Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj saying, a woman may go into the labor room and make all kinds of noise like she's having a baby, but there won't be any baby. So just because somebody is trembling and there are tears in the eyes and they're chanting and dancing, that does not mean there's love of God. But love of God is characterized by these things. In other words, it's overwhelming. Love of God is overwhelming. Srila Guru Maharaj said, one drop of the ocean of Krishna will drown you in divine ecstasy. One drop of the ocean of Krishna will drown you in love of God. So these are not things that someone can produce. This is not not something that comes from the mental world. This is overwhelming to that Vaishnava. And we don't know anything about that kind of feeling. Or somebody may have a tendency to weep, like me. That's just my tendency. And other people may be like that. Or something, anything like that. But, of course, we have to understand these things soberly. Smaranta smarayantyascha mitogoga harang harim bhaktya san jataya bhaktya viparatyut pulakam tanum. I mean, devotees already know this. I'm not talking about devotees. I'm talking about if you go to India especially, and there are groups in the West also that are fully Sahajya groups. And I may have told this story before, but when we went to the Green Gathering in England, we had our kirtans going on and prasadam distribution. It was really wonderful, actually. But nearby us, with this big Sahajya group, and they were mostly like just, British people, but they had gotten all, and they had these kirtan that went on like for 24 hours. And this one lady came over and she knew one of the devotees who was with us, Lavanya Mai. She knew Lavanya Didi, so she came over and she said, oh, it was so ecstatic. And we were chanting. I wasn't eating or drinking anything, and we were just chanting, and it was just so like ecstatic. And then she said, and finally I just fainted. And I was like, well, you should have eaten something. So it's like, so it's just, to bring these things out, we have to understand that this is not that. devotees already know that, but it is something when we are newly practicing. It's not that we should hear about this, but older devotees know that, whatever their nature is, they're not confused about that. Evam vratasva priyanama kirtya jatanurago drutichitta uchai hasatyato roditi rotigaya junmada van nityati lokabaya. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated, and chants like a madman, not caring for outsiders. This is a quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. Ateva Bhagavata Shutrera Artarupa Nija Krita Sutrera Nija Bhasya Swarupa. Srimad Bhagavatam gives the actual meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. The author of the Vedanta Sutra is Vyasadeva himself. And he has explained these aphorisms in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So again, we're coming to this point. All of these things which we're hearing about the Prayojan, Abhideya, and Sambandha, they are given clearly by the Vyasadeva himself in the Srimad Bhagavatam as a commentary and full-fledged blossoming of the Veda, or the ripened fruit of the Veda. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Okay, so this is page 596. We'll stop here and begin to go through. And now we have the papers of the printouts of Upadeshamrita, so we can all chant together. Haribo Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Ki Jai, Srila Om Vishnupad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Haride Prabhu? So I'm just going to read all of the verses in Sanskrit, and then we will go to read about verse number 2. Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Pad Ki Jai, Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai, Jai Shri Shri Upadeshamrita Ki Jai, and Srimati Tulsi Devi, divinely present here, Ki Jai. Vacho Vegam Manasakroda Vegam Jiva Vegam Udarupasta Vegam Etan Vegam Yo Vishaheta Dira Sarvam Apimang Pritiving Shashishyat Atyahara Prayasascha Prajalpo Niyamagraha Janasangaschalo Yamcha Sadbir Bhaktir Vinashati Utsahan Nishchaya Dharyat Tat Karma Pravartanat Shangatyagat Sato Vritte Sadbir Bhakti Prasidhyati Dadati Pratigratnati Guhyam Akyati Prichati Unkte Bojayate Chaiva Sadviding Priti Lakshanam Krishneti Yasya Giritam Manasadriyeta Dikshasti Chet Pranati Bishcha Bhajantamisham Shushushaya Bhajana Vigyam Ananyamanya Nindati Shunya Hridam Ipsita Shangalabdya Dishtai Svabhava Janite Vapushascha Doshe Na Prakritatvam Iha Bhakta Janasya Pashyet Gangam Basam Na Kalu Buddha Pena Pankar Brahma Davatvam Apagachati Niragarma Dharmai. And then verse 7, Sya Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pitod Patapta Rasanasya Charochikanu Kindvadarad Anudinam Kalusai Vajushta Svadvikramad Bhavati Tadgadamula Hantri. And this is, of course, the analogy of sugar candy. So sorry, I didn't go through these at all with the English. So I think I'll do that in a minute. But so we can remember that this verse 7 is about the jaundice. It's about the analogy of jaundice and how it is cured by sugar candy. And in the same way, the jaundice of ignorance is cured by the sweetness of the names of Krishna. Tadnama rupa charitadi sukirtananu smicho kramena rasana manasi niyoja tishtan braje tad anuragi jananugami kalam nayera kilam ityupadesha saram. And then this is how to engage, what to do with these senses, how to engage the tongue, the mind, and remembrance of the enchanting of the glories of the Lord. And spend all your time as a follower of those who have deep attachment to Krishna. Vaikuntaj Janino Varamadupuri Tatrapi Rasotsavad Vrindaranya Mudarapani Ramanat Tatrapi Govardhanaha Radha Kundamihapi Kokulapate Premam Ritat Plavanat Kuyadasya Virajito Giritate Sevam Viveki Nakala. And this is the one that's describing the gradation of the divine plane, Vaikunta. And then higher than that is Mathura, and higher than that is Vrindavan, where the rasa dance takes place. Higher than that is Govardhan, and then higher than that is Radha Kund. And who in their right mind would not want to live at the base of Govardhan at Radha Kund? Karmibhya padito hare priyataya vyaktimya yogyaninas Tebhyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaika nishtastata Tebhyasta pashupala pankaja dishtastabhyopi saradika Preshta tadvadiyam tadiya shirashi sharashi tam nashrayet kakriti. Then this is the gradation of those on the spiritual path, that the jnanis are more dear to Krishna than the karmis, and then the devotees who are free from karma or free from gyan are higher than those karmis, and then above those are those who have attained to the plane of prema. Then the lotus-eyed gopis are the highest among them, and Sri Radhika is even higher than all the other gopis, and her kund is also as dear to Krishna. So again, praising the position of Sri Radha Kund and the service at Radha Kund. So we can't conceive of that at all. However, we are hearing about this with very much happiness. Krishna yochai pranaya vashiti prayasibhyo piradha kundam chasya munibir abhitastadurgeva vyadyayi yapreshta apyalam asulabham kim punar bhakti bhajang tapremidang sukridapi sharasnatura vishkaroti. Then Sri Radhika is the highest object of Sri Krishna's love above all of his other beloved In all respects, her lake has also been established as such by the sages. This lake, Radha Kund, bestows upon those who bathe within it only once prema that is extremely difficult to attain, even for those who are already dear to Krishna, let alone for practitioners of bhakti. Very astonishing book. This is a very astonishing book. Any questions yet? Comments? Okay, and now we're going to go to verse number 2, page 61 in this book, or I don't know what page in Srila Prabhupada's Upadeshamrita. I don't know. I don't have that with me, although it's very nice, especially Srila Prabhupada's word-for-word translation. But it's here also, by the way. And this book is very easily available to order. Atyahara prayasascha prajalponi amagraha janashangaschalolyang cha sadbir bhaktir binashati. What does binashati mean?
Binashati
Destroys. Sadbir, these 6, bhakti binashati. They destroy devotion. Bhakti is destroyed by these 6 faults: overaccumulation, over-endeavor, unnecessary talk, misapplication of rules, association with non-devotees, and fickleness. Fickleness, unsteadiness. I like it, I don't want it, I don't. So, these things destroy bhakti. So we're going to go to page 72, The Illumination by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. Atyahara, I'm going to test you guys. Atyahara means to collect for ourselves whatever we come across. And that's really a big problem in advertising for the persons who are watching the ad. You were perfectly happy without this thing. Oh, I got to have this thing. I got to have it. Whatever it is, I got to have that. And that fault in the conditioned soul is very much exploited by the advertisers. And now we're going to exploit that tendency. No, not exploit it. I mean for good, of course. To present things that are very beautiful, and that tendency will be glorious and purified. That what I do want is not that the soul is going to come to the position of wanting nothing, but what he will want will be glorious, selfless. Atyahara means to collect for ourselves whatever we come across. It means to feed ourselves more than necessary, but it also refers to the tendency to want or keep for ourselves some portion of whatever we collect. So those are 3 things. So what we're collecting for the Lord, we're thinking, well, some of that's got to be for me. Jai Mahaprabhu. Prayasa means false errands, enthusiastic attempts for undesirable false attainments. It refers to becoming too much adherent to any particular cause, except, of course, that of devotion. Just jumping into some huge cause that has nothing to do with devotion and becoming really absorbed in that. Some cause, meaning vegetarianism. We're not vegetarians, we're devotees. But we are vegetarians because that is what Krishna likes to eat. So we are offering that and we are taking that. And there are many things that, many causes that somebody can get absorbed in, but they're distractions for devotion. That's not our cause. When one engages oneself to attain something, One devotes one's energy. When one engages oneself to attain something, one devotes one's energy. One becomes mad. But we should not become so mad to go in any particular destination. Wait and see the wave. Let a thing carry me to that. Wherever that is carrying me, then I will engage myself there. But the mind is like, and just fixating on something without any wave of truth and reality coming, and we are serving that. That can cause very much disturbance. Try to read the divine wave. What is coming to us? How does it want us to adjust to the environment? We are to read that and then go on. Is this clear to everyone? Very important and very fine practice. How does it want to adjust? Okay, once we have begun, having chosen a particular direction to start for, so many opposing currents will come. To only engage ourselves blindly in that will be a hindrance. So we are to practice yukta vairagya. We have to read, I will have to move to this side now and not to this side. I'm thinking I'm going to go on this side, even for my service. I want to do this, but something is coming and moving me in another direction. Oh, then my service will go in this side. We're adjusting all the time to the wave of the environment. But that takes some finesse and some understanding. And then we are also to consult with others about this in the beginning. Sometimes we have to be determined to go in a certain way, but other times that way is being blocked for sure. And then we have to adjust and go through another way, because that is, within that adjustment is much understanding. A much clearer thing will come to us about what we're doing for the Lord. He is showing us. You have this idea, but this other thing you must understand. Many, many things will happen through this adjustment. But that is seeing the Lord's will behind everything, and that's reality. There should be no blind madness for any particular action. We must read the environment, the circumstances, and act accordingly. Any question about this? It's a really fine practice, but it must be understood. We're not just going to the temple and doing this and that and this and that and that, and that's practicing devotional life. It must become much more in the line of surrender, meaning adjustment, always adjusting. I want it this way. Well, it's not going to be that way. Oh, then I must adjust myself and see, what is my lesson coming? Which way do you want me to go, my Lord? Surrender is the essence of devotional practice. Otherwise it's external, and internally we have so many quarrels and so many things which we're not seeing the Lord behind things. Then the third, prajalpa, means unnecessary talk. Indulgence in talking about ordinary things, slackness for entering into discussion about anything and everything. So we can discuss many things, but we don't have, within that we are remembering everything's relationship to the ultimate reality. Many things can be discussed, actually. But if we lose track of how things are connected with the Lord, then becomes prajalpa, becomes noise. We should try to keep up our energy for service only and not allow ourselves to discuss ordinary mundane topics. We should avoid all unnecessary discussion about mundane affairs. So there may be some necessity and there may be a lot of talk without necessity. For example, one may have too much attraction for the newspaper to read about various topics, current events, war, and other unimportant things that have happened in one's area. Prajalpa means to unloose the rein of our self-control and allow ourselves to enter into discussion of anything and everything we find outside of ourselves. Sometimes preachers should have some knowledge of the environment. For that purpose, they may read the newspaper only to make their speech living and modern. For example, something may happen. Maybe there's some event, but we know the cause of every event. We may discuss it. Oh, this thing happened, this earthquake, tornado, there is a flood, there is this and that. But what is the reality behind that? Can any flood exist without the service without the condonement of the Lord? Jai, Jai, Shishi Guru Gaur Chandra Ju Ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhanju Ki Jai, all the beautiful garlands. So we can discuss certain things, but we remember in the end, we are living in this plane, everything is unstable. All these things are going on. Some compassion for those who are going to continue, who don't know anything, who are going to continue in this reliance on what is unreliable. So many things. We're always bringing it to the center. But still, we're not like clothed. We know certain things are going on. They should keep some connection with modern things so that their speech is not antiquated. And they can speak with men of modern education. Their speech, their preaching will be living then, and otherwise it will be somewhat dead. Preachers should be acquainted with the present waves in time, but they should not be voracious readers of newspapers or any other news. Their object should always be to take advantage of the situation and what is going on around them for their preaching work and for their own remembrance and discussion of reality. So now, of course, newspapers have become pretty much gone. There are still magazines, but you know what we do. Scrolling. This is an unbelievable addiction. And really it's just as harmful as any other addiction. It's an addiction to dopamine, and that becomes like it really weakens the overall economy of the person. And it is prajalpa. And the next one is niyamagraha. Niyamagraha means both to make much of a particular law and to ignore a law in total. Here, law means rulings that are given in the scriptures. For example, to be very firm about the rulings for the day of Ekadashi, we must fast wholesale without taking even a drop of water. That's real Ekadashi fasting. However, the general rule is that we must keep our body fit for the service of the Lord. So on the day of Ekadashi, we take something. Some people can fast and still be very active. But most people in the Kali Yuga actually have to eat. It's very, very difficult for most people to completely fast and remain active. In previous ages, there is no necessity for food. Food was just something that you did for a form of social interaction and so on. But in this age, it's very difficult to even, we just can't live without food. So on the day of Ekadasi, we take something, some water, sherbet, or anukalpa. We should not be so strict about a particular thing that the law will be hampered. So there's some adjustment. Rulings are always meant for a particular stage. And after passing a particular stage, the ruling for that stage are no longer applicable to us. So we have to mark another set of rules. That's another niyamagraha, niyama. That's another attachment to rules and regulations that are no longer actually pushing me along, but were very helpful at one stage. Then those can also be given up. But that is to be done with some consultation. So we should not give extra or abnormal attention to any particular rule or neglect rules entirely, saying, I don't care for scriptural rules, I don't care for vidhi, I want rag. I want everything to be spontaneous within me. That also will be niyamagraha.
What is niyamagraha?
So too much attachment or neglect, niyama agraha. Neglecting something which is very important for us, or just giving up all the rules and regulations. No, I just want everything to be spontaneous. What is spontaneous for me right now? Sense gratification. That's what's spontaneous. So some rules to get some experience, to get some purification, and some experience of a higher thing. That's what vidhi is for, and it is important for us. We all know it, and we all feel it. When someone said, no, you must come to the morning program. Oh, I'm tired. I have to feel it, man. So no, you'll feel it later. Just come. Those are rules, and they're very, very helpful. And then someone in a higher stage of bhakti, who's, on the stage which we are worshiping, they're following the rules that are given from their surrendered hearts. But there's always some application, some adjustment of application. The example of Ekadashi given there. Oh, I'm fasting on Ekadashi, but all I can do is sleep all day because I'm fasting. Then that's too much attachment to the rule of a full fast. Then you adjust, you take something and give some seva. So these are, to hate vidhi is one form of niyamagraha, and to make too much of the rules, accepting only vidhi and leaving no chance for internal flow of the heart, that is also niyamagraha. Any question about that? Then the next one is jana sangha. So we'll stop here and we'll discuss these further tomorrow. So we're now reading about jana sangha. So this verse is, there's much to, this is an application of bhakti, of the practice of bhakti, and very important. Anything? All right. Can you give me the drum, please, Prabhu? You're waiting till you really feel it. Thank you. Actually, we need to put this in the recycling.
Right now?
Well, no. I mean, yes. But I want to unwrap this, and then we can put it in the offered prasadam. With the flowers.
Okay.
Because now it's coming apart. So we'll get another one, a new one.
So this is what we're...
Yeah, that's just straw. So it can just go in the...
We could just put it in our mouths.
That's a good... Put some in her teeth. Oh, excuse me. Shri Upadeshamrita ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai. Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Rupa Nula Guru Varga ki jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi ki jai. Without Tulsi Devi, there is nothing. divine, very high divine nourishment in so many ways. So if we get the chance to serve Tulsi Devi, it is a very auspicious thing for us. Haribo.
Hare Rama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Shri Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopina Madana Mokhana. Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Radhaswara Shri Vasari Gauravanta Vrinda. Jaya Rupa Sanata Mandara Gunata. Shri Jiva Gopala Vanta Mandara Gunata. Jai Goshai Kori Charana Bandana. Jai Kevinana Shavishta Purana. Jai Goshai Jai Mohistarasa. Rasamaya Padayendo Moramantarasa. Radhiracharana Sevi Vatasane Vasa. Janame Janame Morare Abhilasa. Jai Gosai Jame Vraje Koilavasa. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Golila Prakasa. Anande Bhuru Hari Vaja Vrindavana. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pare Bhajari Jamana. Guru Vaishnava Pare Bhajari Jamana. Hari Namaha Sankirtana Kohe Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari.
Jai Sripad Nyasi Maharaja Ji ki
Jai.
jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ji ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Astutara Siddha Shri Sriman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Astutara Siddha Shri Sriman Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Sadgoswami Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Saparshad Shri Man Mahaprabhu ki
Jai.
jai. Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai.
Jai.
Tadiya Shaka Mat ki jai.
Hmm.
Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission ki jai.
Jai.
Kartal ki jai.
Jai.
Harivam Sankirtan ki jai.
Jai.
Srimati Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Haribo.
Hari Hari Bol.
Krishna Prana Devi, Krishna Priya Devi, Vimal Krishna Prabhu.
Dandavat, Dandavat. Nice to have your association this morning. Hari Bol.
Haribo.